Paratmanamekam jagadbijamadyam niriham nirakaramokar yato jayate palyate yena vishvam tamesham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, dear devotees, today is the last session of the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, in the last session we finished all the verses. So today we shall just summarize, just look into the central idea conveyed by Sri Krishna in this beautiful chapter. So if you all remember, this chapter started with 7 questions asked by Arjuna. And these questions actually were broached towards the end of the 7th chapter. From there, the topic continues into the 8th chapter. So, Arjuna had asked 7 questions in the beginning of the Gita. In those 7 questions, the last question is the central thing which Krishna focuses upon in the 8th chapter. So what was that 7th question? The 7th question raised by Arjuna was Prayana kale cha katham geyosi niyatatmabhihi. So what does that mean? Arjuna is asking this question. At the time of death, a very important topic which everyone has to face someday or the other. The question is, at the time of death, how is Ishvara going to be known? Known by whom? Niyatatmabhi. Niyatatmabhi means a person of controlled mind. How is this person of a controlled mind going to know Ishvara in the final moments? Very important question. Now, this entire topic revolves around one idea, that is Khandana Bhava Bandhan. To put it in our Sri Ramakrishna's language, what actually we are talking about is we are talking about breaking away from this bondage. Khandana. Khandana means literally shattering. Shattering this bondage to this worldly existence. Now, when we talk about being free from this worldly bondage, we should first understand what is the nature of this world. What is the nature of this world? Is there an entity called world actually existing? These are all moot questions. When we are a seeker of truth, then all these questions really matter. It matters. Because when we are living with some wrong notion, the consequence of that wrong notion is going to be of one kind. And the Shastras and the Guru corrects our wrong notion. That is the biggest blessing which comes from Shastra and from the Guru. So, we are talking about becoming freed from Bhava Bandhana, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. But how are we trapped in this world? So-called world. I would not say world, but so-called world. Because actually speaking, there is no thing called world. This is what Krishna has been discussing in the 7th chapter. So, what is this so-called world? This description of the world in the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, we find only in 2 places. The graphic description I am talking about. One, it comes in the 15th chapter, which we have studied. Urdhva moolam, adhashakam, ashvatham, prahuravyayam. A beautiful graphic description of what this entire world is. And where Krishna paints a beautiful picture. Krishna says, this entire thing called world is nothing but ashvatham. A comparison is made between ashvatha vriksha, a tree, and this world. This world is compared to a tree which is transient. Ashvatha literally means transient. That which is not actually real. And there, very beautifully, Krishna says, this tree has to be uprooted. That is the language there. So beautiful. Krishna says, asanga shastrena dhridena chitva. This tree of so-called this world has to be uprooted completely. You have to pluck it out from the roots itself. You should not leave the root behind. If you just cut the branches, it won't work. You have to finish off the root itself. It's like that. So apart from the 15th chapter, in the 8th chapter you find a very graphic description of what this relative world is. So how is this world described in the 8th chapter? First of all, Krishna says that Abrahma bhuvana loka punara vartinorjuna. Starting from the plane of Brahma down to the lowest plane. Now this world which we are talking about, it is not just what is revealed by our sensory system. There are several planes of existences which is not known to human beings. This only the yogis, the rishis, they can tell us. It is a matter of experience for them. So they tell that in this so-called world, there are several planes of existences, of which the highest plane of existence is Brahma's existence, Brahmaloka. It is this Brahmaloka is that which we refer to as different, Vaishnavas will say it is Vaikuntha, Shaivas will say it is Kailasha, and so on. But Ramakrishna's followers of Ramakrishna will say this is Ramakrishna Loka. So starting from Brahmaloka down to the lowest planes, Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravarti norjuna. They are all punaravarti. Punaravarti means all these planes of existences, they are subject to rebirth. A very important point. We are talking about our bondage in this relative plane of existence. No matter in which plane of existence you live, they are all subject to rebirth. You have to be born again in the human plane, and from where the journey once again starts. But Krishna says, Mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. If you realize me, if you succeed in reaching me, from there is no more punarjanma. This is what is khandana bhava bandhana. How to break away from this bondage of this relative existence by knowing Ishvara. It is only by gaining the knowledge of Ishvara one can break away from the bondage of this worldly existence. This is what Krishna is saying. So he describes this so-called plane of relativity, a very, very graphic description, where he says, Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano vidu Ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratravito janah avyaktat vyaktaya sarvaha prabhavantya haragame ratriagame praliyante tatraiva vyakta sanyake bhuta gramasa evayam bhutva praliyate ratriagame vashapartha prabhavatya haragame. 3 verses. In 3 verses, Krishna is painting the picture of relativity. And he is talking about different frames of time. He says that, you see, one day of Brahma and one night of Brahma It is made up of several billions and billions of human years. Billions and billions of human years will go into the making of one single day and one single night of Brahma. Similarly, what is one day for us, it may be billions and billions of years for an infinitesimally small microbe. For an infinitesimally small microorganism, from that point of view, when it lives for, say, several billions and billions of times it lives, that may be just like 1 minute as far as the human plane of time is concerned. Similarly, what is Brahma's 1 minute may be several lakhs and lakhs of years from the human standpoint. So this is all the plane of relativity, different planes of references. They're all relative. What Krishna wants to say that this is all bound by time. Kala Baddha. This is bondage. Vast spans of time have been discussed there. Just imagine Brahma's entire lifespan, if you just calculate it mathematically, we have seen that it comes to 311 trillion human years. We can't even think about that. 311 trillion human years goes into the making of one creation, one lifetime of Brahma. But what is the meaning of all these things? It is not meant to prove that creation is real. Let us make this point very clear. Whenever Vedanta discusses creation, when Sri Krishna is discussing creation here, this is not meant to tell us that creation is real. No. All this discussion is only meant for us to come to the conclusion that this is not real. It is only an appearance. It is only just like the dream world. In the dream also we have the entire Brahmanda. Any doubt? Is the dream world real? Similarly, this is also another dream which is going on. We don't understand this point. So Krishna paints this beautiful picture of this relativity where he says that starting from the plane of Brahma down to the lowest plane, all these planes of existences are subject to rebirth, but mam upaityatu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. Then he speaks about, you see, in this plane of relativity, we are all existing here. In this we jivas, we can have 4 possibilities. Post-mortem, 4 possibilities. Post-mortem means after death. Beautiful discussion. So relevant for all of us. Post-mortem, after death, we can have 4 possibilities. Number 1, if you are a Brahmagyani, which is the most difficult thing, if somebody has experienced Atman, Brahman, while he or she is alive, that is one possibility. What is that? If you have realized Brahman, for that person, after the body falls down, there is nowhere to go. Everything gets dissolved here itself. That person's soul, so-called that subtle body, doesn't depart. There is no question of transiting or going to some other plane. That doesn't happen with the case of Brahmagyani, because for him, everything is Brahman. Where will he go? There is nowhere for that person to go, because he is a realized person. For him, the idea of world is gone. World never exists. It is Brahman alone is existing. This is one possibility. We can say that we don't belong to this category. Let us make this point very clear. Second possibility. Krishna says that, you see, if you have led a righteous life, if you have led a very good life, righteous life, you have led your life according to the principles of dharma, and at the same time you have been a devotee. You were devoted to Saguna Brahman. You were devoted to Brahman in a certain form. Your Ishta. We all have been initiated into some mantra, into some Ishta Devata, if you have lived a life which is centered in devotion to your Ishta, which is Saguna Brahman, in that case, this person's destiny will be of one kind. What is going to be the destiny of this person? This person, after his death, Krishna says that he will be attaining Krama Mukti. Brahmagyani's case is Jivan Mukti, this case is Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti means he will attain Mukti, but gradually. How? After death, his soul departs and travels through different planes of existences, and finally it will reach Brahma Loka, from where it won't come back, it will get released from there. So this path of reaching Brahma Loka after the fall of the gross body, this path is referred to as Uttarayana or Devayana. These are the two words, nothing to worry about these terms, but what it means to us is that this is the path which characterized by light, which eventually in a graded manner takes us to the destination of Brahma Loka, and from there that Jiva gets liberated. So that is very beautifully described. Agni, Jyoti, Ahashukla, Shanmasa, Uttarayanam, all those things. Different divine beings, they come to escort. That is the meaning of those verses. Different divine beings, gods, lower gods. After the death of this person, these lower gods come and escort this Jiva towards the attainment of Brahma Loka, from where that person doesn't come back. Now the third possibility is a person who has led a righteous life, but that person was never a devotee. Now there are many people, they take a great pride in declaring themselves to be, oh no, we are atheists. It's very common. You can see that. They take great pride in declaring that Amra Bhagwan ke Manina. So, but they have led a good life. They have led a good life. They were righteous people. Now such people who have not been devotees, but they have lived a righteous life, they want to enjoy this world. What is going to be the fate of that person? That person's fate is, he, after the fall of his body, will be going through another path, which takes him to some higher heavens, not Brahmaloka. Other heavens which are lower than the Brahmaloka, and after attaining these heaven and after enjoying for some time there, the soul will again be born in the human plane. Punarjanma takes place. So this path is described as Pitriyana. This is referred to as Pitriyana or Dakshinayana. The earlier one was Uttarayana and this is Dakshinayana. Now here this Krishna says Dhomo Ratri Tatha Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam and all those things. Now the fourth possibility is, which Krishna is not discussing here. Fourth possibility is about those people who have done very evil deeds in this life. Those people who have done many cruel things in this life. And what is the fate of such people? Such people, they will be born in lower wombs, the wombs of animals, insects, plants and trees. And they suffer. They are suffering not owing to anything else. They are suffering owing to their own karma. See, this is all the plane of karma and karma phala. We should remember this. As is our action, so is going to be the result. No one can escape this law. We can escape the law of this land, but we cannot escape. No jiva can escape this principle, this law of karma and karma phala. When you have done good karmas, you will reap good phala, good results. And good karma will bring in so-called worldly happinesses. That's all, nothing else. So Krishna beautifully discusses in this, here in 8th chapter, he discusses the two possibilities. The first one and the fourth one he doesn't discuss. He doesn't discuss the case of Brahmagyanis, nor does he discuss the case of those who have done evil deeds. But he is discussing the case of those who have lived righteous life with devotion and without devotion. So we can understand, most of us, we belong to, I should say, one of these two groups. And if you have led a righteous life and you have been devoted to Ishvara, then we can be very sure that the second path is going to be our fate. See, this is what we have to learn. This gives a tremendous hope for all of us, number one. It instills a sense of confidence in all of us that yes, I have lived a life of devotion and I have lived a life righteously. There is nothing to worry about. In the final moments, I will remember. Now, how to remember God, Ishvara, that is the next discussion. I'm coming to that point. Going back to Arjuna's question was Prayana Kale cha Katham Geyosi. At the time of death, how is Ishvara going to be known? That was the question. Now, how do you do that? Now, to remember. Now, then Krishna talks about a big principle. Why this moment of death really matters to us. This final moment is so important. Why? Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yap prayati samadbhavam yati na asti atra samshayah yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. 2 verses, beautiful. Why does this final moment really matter? It matters because Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. In the final moments, anyone who leaves his body remembering me, Ishvara, Arjuna, have no doubt that you will reach me. That is the certitude, the definiteness with which Bhagavan Krishna is telling us, my dear children, remember, in the final moments, if you have your mind fixed on Ishvara, my dear children, know it with all certitude, no doubt that you will be attaining me. Why? The principle is that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tat bhava bhavita. So beautiful. Krishna is saying that, you see, the principle is this, my dear children, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Whatever your mind is fixed upon in the final moments, tam tamevaiti kaunteya, you will be attaining that very thing. This is the principle. Bhagavat anusmaranam becomes Bhagavat prapti hetu. Please remember this point. Bhagavat anusmaranam becomes Bhagavat prapti hetu, and sansara anusmaranam will become samsara prapti hetu. Remembering Ishvara will become the cause of attaining Ishvara, and remembering the things of samsara will become the cause of attaining samsara. This is the principle. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Whatever you are engaging with, in the final moments, Sri Ramakrishna beautifully says, one householder, just imagine, we are on the deathbed. See, everyone, we all have to negotiate this most precious moments, the final moments. Just a few more breaths are left. Even the breath has become subtle and subtler. Now we are breathing grossly. I can feel my breath. But the final moments, the breath will slowly slow down. Everything slows down. Everything slows down. Our gross breath becomes subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler, physically speaking. But the Sukshma Sharira is tremendously active. What a beautiful thing it is. We may see a dying person. His body is silenced. He is breathing very subtly. He is almost unconscious externally. But internally, his subtle body is in highest activity. Now, what is that activity? We cannot see. That is what actually we are talking about. What should be the activity of the subtle body at that time? What should it be engaged with? If it is engaged with Ishvara, it will attain Ishvara. And if it is engaged with the things of the world, it has to come back again to this world. Bhagavat Anusmaranam becomes Bhagavat Prapti Hetu, and Samsara Anusmaranam will become Samsara Prapti Hetu. This is the principle. This being the principle, Krishna says, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. So beautiful. Remembering this principle. What is the principle? What you remember during the final moments, that becomes the cause of where you land up. It is the question of where you land up. Where are we going to land up after leaving this body? Two possibilities for good people. One is you reach Ishvara and never come back. Other is you miss that Ishvara destination and again you come back. So beautiful. So that's why if this if is a very important word. Are we really serious about Khandana Bhavabandhana? We have to ask this question to ourselves. Are we really wanting freedom from this bondage? If we really want it, then Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. So beautiful, so beautiful. Krishna is saying, therefore, if you are really serious about this, forget about everything else. Me and mine, me and mine, me and mine, this disease of me and mine, Ami Amar, my son, my children, my husband, my wife, my. This is bondage. This is sheer ignorance. Rising above this idea of me and mine, if you if your mind is engaged with Ishvara, then we land up in Ishvara, otherwise we land up back in this very room. Again we land up in this Marti Loka. Can't escape it. That is the thing. Now the next question is, if you have to always remember God, now this is another big question. Challenges. How to ensure that we always remember God? This takes us to the first 6 questions of Arjuna. It's so beautiful it is. If you just look into the whole subject, the way it has been laid by Krishna in the 8th chapter, now the question is how to remember Ishvara at all points of time. Do we really succeed? Why we fail? Because for us there is a second entity called world which is existing. It is not that we are not remembering Ishvara. We remember Ishvara. We remember Ishvara for 1 moment and 10 moments are dedicated to the things of the world. Is it not? Presently, what is happening in our life is, yes, na Bhagwan ke mone korte hobe. Yes, I should remember God. And you remember God. You remember your Ishta. That maybe for a few moments, again it lands back into the things of the world. Is it not? Relatives, relationships, this and that, this world, that, everything. Because for us now, presently, world is a real entity existing separated from Ishvara. This is a very big existential problem. Question is this world really existing separated and distinct from Ishvara? This question actually we have to think about, meditate on it. If you just remember, the 7th chapter was completely talking about it. The 13th chapter was fully talking about it. The 15th chapter, in fact, all the chapters are hammering the same idea. There is no world existing distinct as a second entity apart from Ishvara. This is a central thought current running throughout the Vedas. That's why Bhagavad Gita is described as Advaitamrita Varshineem. Amba. Bhagavad Gita is referred to as Amba. Amba means mother. She is that mother who is showering the nectar of Advaita Drishti. Advaitamrita Varshineem. Bhagavatim says Amba. Ambatvam Anusandadhami. So Bhagavad Gita is that mother which showers this nectarian vision of non-duality, that is only Ishvara alone is existing. Now that is actually the answers given by Bhagavan Krishna to the 6 questions which Arjuna had asked. Arjuna's question was what? What is this Adhyatma, this individual soul? What is this Adhibhuta, all the different other beings? What is Adidaiva? What is Adhyakya? What is karma? And so on. These were the first 6 questions dealing with everything that we are dealing here. And Krishna in his answer, he said that, you see, all this is nothing but Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Nothing is existing distinct and separated from Ishvara. Now, if we really develop this vision, what is the vision? That nothing is existing separated and distinct from Ishvara. When this vision really comes, when this vision has to be practiced, it is not going to come on its own. We have to practice it. This is what Sri Ramakrishna says, Shiva Jnane, Shiva Bhave, Jiva Seva. Where are the Jivas? It is all Shiva only. It is Ishvara in so many forms. This world, so-called world, again, we should not be talking about world, it is so-called world. Actually, it is Ishvara. What we are referring to as world, it is nothing but, it is God's form, it is Ishvara's form. You all remember that Swami Vivekananda's famous statement, Bahurupe sammukhe tumar chhadiye kothaye. Ishwar ke khujcho bhai. Leaving this Ishvara, which God are you waiting for? This is the stress of the Vedas and the Upanishads. It's all Ishvara alone. But that, when you, in short, what does it mean? It means spiritualizing everything. In one line, what does it mean? To spiritualize or divinize everything. Everything is Ishvara. This drishti should come. Adhyatma is Ishvara. Adhibhuta is Ishvara. Adhidaiva is Ishvara. Adhyakya is Ishvara. Karma is Ishvara. Everything is Ishvara. When we have this vision, now tell me, where will your mind go in the final moments? Is there a second entity apart from Ishvara towards which the mind can go? Now remembering God becomes easy towards the end. If we have practiced this vision that Ishvara alone is existing, that whom I am talking to, all those persons I am dealing with, these are all nothing but Ishvara's so many forms. If I have practiced this, now this is a question of Abhyasa. Krishna is going to talk about this Abhyasa Yoga now. Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Nanyagamina. There is something called Abhyasa Yoga. Abhyasa is what? Shankaracharya so beautifully says, Abhyasa means what? That constant practice by which the mind is always filled with Ishvara to the exclusion of all contrary ideas. Shankaracharya beautifully says, the mind's only content is Ishvara and Ishvara alone to the exclusion of all other contrary ideas. This is the practice. This kind of practice we have to do throughout the life. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Krishna is saying, Ananya Cheta, one who has practiced this, Ananya Cheta, one who has practiced what? Ananya Cheta, that there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. Ananya Cheta, one-pointed attention on Ishvara and Ishvara alone, because there is nothing else existing apart from Ishvara. Ananya Cheta, Satatam Nityashah. 2 important words come there. Satatam means, Shankaracharya says, in an uninterrupted manner. One who is constantly having the awareness of Ishvara in his day-to-day life. This is not only the time of meditation. In my day-to-day life, from morning till evening, from the time I wake up from sleep and I go back to sleep, in my waking hours, I am constantly aware of the fact that I am experiencing Ishvara. This is all nothing but Ishvara, so many forms. This is what is Ananya Cheta Satatam, uninterruptedly. You are constantly aware that this is all nothing but divinity and divinity alone. Every man is divine, every woman is divine, every man and woman they are all God's forms. When I am aware of this, and Nityashaha, Satatam and Nityashaha. Nityashaha, Shankaracharya says beautifully, not practicing this for 1 day, not practicing this for 2 days or 6 months. He says, throughout the life. Throughout the life till we come to those final moments. When we have practiced this kind of God remembrance throughout the life, then in the Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. For this person who has practiced this kind of God remembrance, for him I am Sulabha, I am easily attainable in the final moments. So this is the challenge now. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Beautiful. That's why, my dear children, sarveshu kaleshu, at all points of time, remember me and lead your life. We should remember this beautiful phrase of Sri Krishna, mam anusmara yudhyacha. Remember me and lead your life. This is exactly what Sri Ramakrishna says. Tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth and lead your life. All the great masters, they speak the same language. Ma manusmara yudhyacha. Remembering me, fight. Actually, it means, Krishna is doing this to Arjuna. Fight. Fight means what? You lead your life. Perform your duties, remembering me, seeing Ishvara in everything. This is the point. Now, if we have done this, now let us come to the final moments. Beautiful. Now those final moments have come now. A few more breaths are left. The body is becoming silent. But where is the mind? Krishna, beautifully, 2 verses. Everyone should focus on these 2 verses. Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhruvor madhye pranamavesha samyak satam purusham upaiti devya sarvadvarani sanyamya mano ridi nirudhya cha murnyadhayatmanam pranam astito yoga dharanam om ityekaksharam brahma vyaharan ma manusmara yak prayatis. He will attain me. 3 verses. This is the art of dying, actually. Beautiful. Krishna is talking about the art of dying. Art is always beautiful, is it not? Art is always beautiful. Music is an art. Dance is an art. Painting is an art. Similarly, dying also can be an art. We can artistically die. And that is the way which Krishna is showing us how to do that. When you have, he says, prayana kali, in those final moments, Krishna is saying, manasa achalena, with an unwavering mind. The wavering of the mind is gone. Now this will only happen when we have practiced that throughout our life. When we have practiced God remembrance throughout our life, in the prayana kala, in the final moments also, the mind will be unwavering. It won't waver. It will be steady, beautiful. Now we can just imagine. Prayana kalecha manasa achalena. This is achala manasa, unwavering mind. And what? Bhaktya yukto. It's full of devotion. Mind is saturated with bhakti bhav. Again, this is only possible when you have practiced that kind of bhakti throughout your life. So, prayana kale, in those final moments, when the mind is unwavering, it is saturated with the bhava of devotion and yoga balena chaiva. It is imbued with an unusual, unearthly strength. Balam. So beautiful point. This is not the balam of the worldly kind. This is a balam which comes, this is yoga balam. Beautiful term. Shankaracharya says, what is this yoga balam? This yoga balam is that balam, that strength which comes from an uninterrupted practice of spiritual absorption. The accumulated samskaras of spiritual absorption. That accumulated samskaras itself becomes a powerhouse which stands with us in our final moments. When we have practiced this kind of a devotion throughout our life, when we have practiced God vision throughout our life, throughout our life, when we have practiced keeping our mind on Ishvara and Ishvara alone, that actually accumulates into a tremendous force at the time of death, and it stands with us. So this dying person, you see, his mind is unwavering. 3 points to be noted. Beautiful. Now we are summing up the whole thing. Krishna is saying this dying person's mind is unwavering. It is saturated with bhakti bhava to that Parameshwara, to your Ishta. And it is imbued with tremendous yoga bala. Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva. And then what? With all these together, you see, it's like, you're bringing all your strength together. You're focusing all your energies towards only one thing now. Unwavering mind, a mind saturated with devotion, and a mind which is imbued with tremendous spiritual strength, yoga balam. What this person is doing? Bhruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak. He is taking the prana to the center of eyebrows. Don't worry about it. All this, it is not physical. It is simply speaking, raising your consciousness to higher levels. This person consciously raises his consciousness from the lower centers to the higher centers. Bhruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak satam purusham upaiti divyam. That is the way to attain that divine. Means in the final moments, he is consciously raising his mind to higher planes of consciousness. Again, repeating this idea, Krishna is saying, Sarvadvarani Sanyamya. Beautiful. See, these are all tremendous hints. Sarvadvara. Dvara means doors. Is it not? Door. After restraining all the doors of sense perception, means the sense organs have been completely restrained. Sarvadvarani Sanyamya. After having restrained all the sense organs, Mano Hridi Nirudhyacha, and the mind is completely fixed, or you may say mind is locked. Nirudhya, Nirodhanam. Mind is locked. You may say mind gets locked. Where? Hridi, in the Hridayam, in the heart. The heart doesn't mean this our physical heart. It refers to Buddhi Guha. We don't have to worry about that. You see, when the mind is completely locked in the heart, so Sarvadvarani Sanyamya Mano Hridi Nirudhyacha, again, Murdhnya Dhayatmanam Pranam. He takes the prana to Murdhni. Murdhni means again, to the head. What it means is that he raises his consciousness to higher planes of that's all. And then there, what does he do? Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran. Uttering what? Uttering God's name. The best name of God is Om. Let us understand this point. All other names are just for our conveniences. But the real name of Ishvara is Om. This dying man, he now consciously uttering Om, what does he do? He leaves his body. Om iti ekaksharam vyaharan mam anusmaran. This is how he remembers Ishvara towards the end. And then he attains the Supreme. So this is the description of the dying man and how he fixes his mind on Ishvara in these 3 verses. Now, conclusion. Our challenge is how to keep our mind fixed on Ishvara in the final moments. This cannot happen unless we practice it throughout our life. If throughout our life we are involved in all kinds of worldly things, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen in the final moments. This is the pure, simple principle. It's a law actually. Bhagavat Anusmaranam becomes Bhagavat Prapti Hetu. One more last verse where Krishna beautifully says, I'll sum up that. So in short, how is that we can successfully keep our mind on Ishvara? In that verse, Krishna says, Purushasa Parapartha Bhaktya Labhyastvananyaya. Beautiful. This Param Purusha can be attained. How? Purusha sa Parapartha. The Supreme Ishvara can be attained by how? bhaktya, through bhakti. And Shankaracharya says there, what is this bhakti? This bhakti is jnana lakshana bhakti. Exactly what Sri Ramakrishna says. Sri Ramakrishna keeps on repeating this idea. Bhakti should be always jnana lakshana, jnana mishrita bhakti. This is a very important point. Shankaracharya says this bhakti is how? Jnana lakshana bhakti. The bhakti which was talked about in the 7th chapter, if you remember, 4 types of bhaktas were discussed. In that, jnani is supposed to be the best bhakta. Is it not? 7th chapter. We have discussed that, so we don't have to go into that. So, this is how Krishna says, this Ishvara can be attained by this jnani bhakta or bhakta jnani. It's a knowledge blossoming into devotion or devotion which is blazing with knowledge. They are inseparable. Knowledge, jnanam, blossoming into supreme devotion. When you know that there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara, you will always be in a devotional mode. And the true devotion comes from knowledge. It's like that. So in this way, Krishna gives us, to just sum up the whole thing. So what is that we have to remember in this chapter? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yodhyacha. Therefore, my dear children, if you have to prepare yourself for the final moments in which our challenge is to keep our mind on Parameshwara, that can be successfully done only and only if sarveshu kaleshu, at all points of time throughout the life, we successfully remember God and perform our duties. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. If we lead that kind of a life, definitely in the final moments, we can keep our mind on God. So a bhakta yogi will never have any confusion. Krishna said, Naite sriti parthajanan yogi muhyati kaschana. See, we are all bhaktas. Now there is no confusion for us. We know what is the possibility. Is it not? It's very clear. We know what is the possibility. The first one is not possible for us, mostly. I won't say, it is too much to say that it's not possible. By Ishvara's grace, anything can be possible. But that is a very rare thing, Brahma-jnana, experience of Brahman, while we are alive. That is Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti is meant for very, very few people who have direct experience of the reality. And the fourth option is also, definitely we are not evil people. We have not done any cruel deeds. So that is also ruled out. So we have two ways. Either we attain Ishvara and don't come back, and if we fail to do that, we may attain to some lower heavens and we come back. So these are the two possibilities. So there's nothing, no confusion. So these are the two possibilities waiting to happen in our lives. So nothing to worry about. Is it not? So that's why Krishna so beautifully says, Naite sriti parthajanan yogi muhyati kashana. This yogi, this bhakta has got no more delusion. It's so clear. He knows these are the two possibilities. And he consciously chooses the second path. Second path means Devayana. Second, in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you are taking these two, then the first path. So this yogi, he will now choose because he doesn't want to come into this. Because this world is what? Dukkha layam ashashvatam. Is it not? This world is there anyone to say that this world is a place of happiness and joy? It's full of suffering only. Everybody knows that. So this is dukkha layam. This is an abode of dukkham. And it is ashashvatam. For every viveki, he will always want khandana bhava bandhana. This is what Ramakrishna stands for. Tell me, Ramakrishna stands for the world or for khandana bhava bandhana? He stands for khandana bhava bandhana. What is the world idea in that? Absolutely no idea. So this is the conclusion of the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What we have to take away from this chapter is Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Therefore, my dear children, uninterruptedly and always remember Ishvara and do your duties. Because when you do that, in the final moments also, you will succeed in keeping your mind on God. And if your mind is on God, you attain God. This is the simple. Let's stop. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat.